How do I get rid of these banners? Are you going to
And
watch for comment?
live.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Let's see. Okay, we've got it all set up for StreamYard now. Awesome.
All right. Happy Monday. No, Wednesday. Back to Monday again. Remember I did that last week or two?
Yep.
The days are so full.
We like Mondays. That's all it is.
Good day, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad you're here with us. Whether you're live or if you're watching the replay, we're super glad you're here. We're honored to have you join us, and welcome to Unshackle Your Voice so you can be seen and heard. We're Mary Denise and Candace May, your guides for unframing your life, digging the gold from your past struggles, and designing the life of your dreams. Welcome to Unshackle Your Voice so you can be seen and heard with confidence.
Absolutely. I'm super excited for today. I'm Mary Denise, founder of Mitchell Leadership Services and Consulting, Inc. I am a boutique woman-owned consulting and coaching firm right here in the Phoenix area. And I help you become the leader of your own life. I help you gain unshakable confidence, create healthy boundaries, raise your self-esteem, and be clear and concise in your communications, actually, which improves your relationships.
Absolutely. Communication is the foundation for everything, is it not?
Yes, it is.
I'm Candace May, owner of Candace May Training and Services, offering consulting, training, performance coaching, and operational analysis for changing times. If you're a business owner, executive, or professional who feels frustrated or overwhelmed with your team dynamics and workflow, your team will benefit on our holistic coaching and consulting services. We assist teams to build trust and psychological safety in the workplace so you can increase morale, employee engagement, and improve product quality and sales.
So what brings Candace and I together is our shared interest as certified speakers, trainers, and coaches with the John Maxwell team. We're also empowered mentoring guides where we work through the Empowered Living community for that. And we are certified DISC human behavior consultants, which I know for me, that is my favorite part of what I do in working with folks. What about you, Candace?
I love the communication behavior analysis so much, but I got recently certified as a Art of Feminine Presence instructor, and I love that work just as much or more because that is working with the energetics and spiritual side and the physical and the psychological all combined to really bring presence and peace and really bring you that ability to be magnetic and have a presence. Presence is critical. Yeah.
Nice. So let me lay the foundation. I feel like there's an echo. I'm sorry. Let me tell you how this is going to work just for our viewers so that they know what to expect. We only have about 30 to 40 minutes with you. And I guarantee you, Candace May and I, we give you everything that we have. And we also give you ideas to implement right now that's going to help you with courageously growing your values. So if you want to have a deeper discussion on this, please get a hold of Candace May or myself, and we will be more than happy to work with you.
Absolutely, definitely. So this is how we define courageously grow. Value yourself, your gifts, and your opportunities by regular, ongoing, purposeful personal development. So what does that look like in your day-to-day life?
What does it look like in my day-to-day life? For me, it's just making sure that I keep the main thing for myself and remain true to my values, remain true to what is important to me, what I value. And for me, that's family. I mean, family is a big part of my life. My faith is a huge part of my life. So it's just a matter of living that out on a daily basis and utilizing the gifts and the talents that God gave me. You know, a lot of times we won't do that because we're afraid to, but not anymore.
And Mary, I know you do live out family every day. I mean, don't you work with your granddaughter every day, helping her with breathing and so forth?
Yes.
That's a really awesome thing. So grandchildren are precious. And when you have the opportunity to spend time with them every day, wow, that's just great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Before COVID, I was having my grandchildren over every weekend, and I enjoyed that time with them so much. After COVID, that hasn't really occurred, but I have been able to go to their house recently. So the reason we brought that up, what does this look like for you in your day-to-day life. We're talking about values. We're defining what a value is and how to live it out on a day-to-day basis. The next 10 weeks, we're going to cover 10 different values. So this week, we're covering Courageously Grow. And that question for you is, what is the value that's important for you? Let's pick a value to work on one value a week, and Mary and I will demonstrate accountability partners, so you can find someone to be an accountability partner with, and you can join us and we can be your accountability partner. So you can make comments and jump into our conversation. You can use this Courageously Grow value if it pleases you, or whatever one works for you. But this is the one we're demonstrating with. And so the question that we said, what does this look like in your day-to-day life, is a question that you would ask yourself about your value. How does it show up in my day-to-day life? We talked about family for Mary. If she said that family was a value of hers, but she had no interaction with her family at all. And even if they're far away, long distance, she's not picking up the phone and calling them or emailing them or writing a letter, sending cards, then there's really no interaction with the family at all. It's hard to say that you're living out that value. So that's what we're trying to talk about here. So our outcome for this week, what we're committed to doing, is to do something just about every day of the week to reflect this as a real value for us. So what I'm going to suggest, and Mary, jump in at any time, is that to begin with, even with any of your values, is you need to start out by taking an inventory of your life and where you're at right now. And especially for this one, because it's about personal growth. So we need to inventory. And Mary, why would we need to inventory, and what does an inventory look like?
Well, you have to inventory to know what you have, right? When you look at business owners, they always take inventory of what their stock is at the end of the month and the beginning of the month, so they can determine what their profit margin is, right? If they've lost any money, what do they need to order to restock their shelves and everything else? It's the same thing with us. We have to take an inventory of ourselves to see where we're at in our lives, and at the point that we're at in our lives. We need to be able to look at our whole life, right? And I'm right now, I'm really big into this whole life thing. And I think it's because I plan to build a whole life community. And
like a holistic approach to your life, right?
Yes.
Like several different segments, right?
Yes. And so when you're doing this inventory, you have to look at the 30,000 view. Like, you have to look down and you have to identify your business, your mindset, your relationships, your health, your personal growth. Like, there's so many different elements to the 7 areas of our life that we have to take stock and look at, because if we don't know what we need to improve, right? I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me that they're always having a problem, that people leave their lives. They walk out of this person's life on a regular basis. And she was like, I don't understand why people leave. Like, everybody leaves.
Wow.
And so my response, and I wasn't trying to be cruel or anything, but it was literally, so have you looked at what it is that you might be doing?
Yeah, what is your part of the ownership of that, right? Yeah.
What is your part? Because if you don't look at that, then you're never going to be able to move forward, and you're always going to stay in that place that you're at. So doing that self-inventory, it helps you grow. Like, it helps you grow tremendously.
So life happens to you, or it happens through you. And so I think we have to take 100% responsibility for whatever comes our way, that even if it wasn't our fault and we were a victim at some point, we have a choice in how we respond. Mm-hmm. And so as we learn to, I think what you're saying to this person, whoever it might be, that if people, how we relate to them is important, because that determines the outcomes of the relationship, right? And as we take time and do the inventory and grow ourselves, we'll start attracting more healthier people. Remember, we talked about safe people and all of that before. So I like to point out this concept of taking a trip. If I wanted to go to New York City, I have to know where I am before I can plan my trip to New York. Because if I'm in Mexico and I'm going to New York, that's going to be a certain route. If I'm in Canada going to New York, that's another route. If I'm in Africa coming to New York, that's a whole nother route. Mm-hmm. And if I'm here in California, then I can pick you up in Arizona and off we can go across the states, right? So knowing where we begin is critical to know how to get to where we want to go. Even if we know where we want to go, but we don't know where we're beginning,
Yes.
it's going to be impossible to grow.
Yes.
So that's why we take an inventory of our life. And I think Mary suggested the 7 areas being your professional life or your business, if you're a business owner, your mindset, and then there's that concept of fixed mindset versus growth mindset. What that means from what I've researched is that a fixed mindset is people believe whatever capabilities you have are fixed, you can't grow, so you have an excuse. I can't get there, I don't have that skill, versus somebody who says, I can grow into whatever I need to be.
And
then
there's, I don't mean to cut you off, I'm so sorry, but when you said that just now, it reminded me of a class that I just got out of right before we jumped into this call, where a group of us, we were masterminding, and we brought that very subject up. And it was said that if you don't, how did he say it? If you don't allow your mind to open up for the possibilities of what's out there, then the possibilities will never become fruition.
That's right. Yeah, we have to stay open. We have to get our hearts open and our minds open and really stay open to the potential, right? Versus closed down that we're incapable. Yep. And then there's always the area of money or financial, right? We have that's an area that we can grow in our responsibility. Our health, meaning what we eat and exercise, or our emotional states.
Triple E.
The triple E, eating, exercise, and emotions. There you go. That's right, for health. And then relationships. We've got interpersonal relationships, and we've got our professional relationships, community, and all of those. What's the key to relationships? Communication. That's why we love our communication behavior analysis stuff, right? To help people understand where they're at in their communication style, where they're at in their thinking style, and their strengths, and all of that. We have, both of us are certified to help you with that, if that's something that you want to learn more about for yourself. And then personal growth, that is your self-esteem, because you have the physical, the outside appearance, and then you have like that, what you really feel about yourself on the inside, right? Mm-hmm. And there's this saying I just love, you can't outrun your self-esteem, right? No, how you see yourself. Because even if you're the most beautiful person and you grew up hearing how ugly you were every year of your life, you may not be able to look in the mirror and really see something beautiful because your mind was conditioned to see ugly. But that's where we have to break those beliefs that you're holding on to that aren't true, so that you can see your true beauty inside. And then your spiritual growth and the energetics, because we're spiritual beings, everything's energy.
Mm-hmm. And some of the questions that, I would encourage our listeners to look at is, ask yourself, what stage of life are you in? So Candace, what stage of life are you in right now?
Wow. What stage of life am I in? I am in a blossoming stage. No, I have gone through the empty nester. I have one who's visiting me at the moment back at the house. So, but I am flourishing into what I like to say, my entourage, my final career of being my entrepreneurship in my business. It's a goal that I've had since I was in my 20s, to really help people to grow. I've been on a personal growth journey for 40 years. And though I've had that corporate career, this has been my ultimate. So I'm in a stage of excitement right now, just kind of figuring it all out and getting it out there and getting my marketing and branding and really trying to see how best to connect with companies and individuals to see what their problems are and how I can best help them.
Nice.
What about you, Mary?
I'm in that stage where I've accepted that I have so many more things to do, and I don't have any restrictions to me. So I am living carefree now because I don't have, the responsibilities. I'm basically, I was an empty nester, but now I got all my babies living with me. Well, not all of them, but 3 of the little grandkids are living with me and their parents. And I love it, but I know that I don't have a restriction. So if I want to leave the house, I can and not worry about it. And the fact that I can grow and I can work with people, because now I have over 50 years of experience that I can share with people. 50
That's
years of
right.
knowledge and experience that I can freely share. I can be like that old man on the stoop in front of the barber shop, just sitting there talking all kinds of nonsense
Hmm.
with
Right.
folks.
50 years of life. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
great. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
So, JJ's giving us a comment. Let me see if
Oh,
I can
yeah.
pull that up. Let me see. There we go. So JJ's got a comment up for us. I can't read it. Can you
Let
read
me
it?
see if I can see it. JJ, Candace May Gruber, so happy to see you flourishing. Remember our first IMC? That's right. JJ and I were together at our first IMC. I
Yeah,
just love you, JJ.
I
And
love it.
she's another John Maxwell team member. So, yeah, that's exciting time. I'm so glad you're watching us. You know, speaking of flourishing, JJ is constantly growing and doing something. She's a minister, actually, as well. So she's wanting to reach people's lives, and not wanting to, she does. I think she does financial planning as well. So
She's the
she's just
best.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. Glad
She's,
you're with us.
yep.
Glad you're with us. Share the show. Share the show.
Yeah.
So tell
And
me, what are some other questions we can ask, or our viewers can ask themselves when completing their inventory? What does that look like? So that one of the questions was, what stage of life are you in? You asked that, yeah.
then what skills have you developed, and do you enjoy those skills?
That's interesting. So skills could be like,
What did you go to college for, and do you like what you're doing now, or do you wish you had done something different?
so skills could be accounting, it could be welding, could be a construction worker who builds, it could be anything, right? What are those skills? But it can also be, do you have skills in persuasion? Do you have skills in leadership? Do you have skills in creativity? Do you have skills in processing? What are those skills?
Mhm.
And how can you apply them in different areas? And then the question that you added there was, do you enjoy those skills? Why
That's
is that important?
It's important because if you don't love what you're doing, then you're not living life fully. You've got
That's
to
right.
enjoy what you're doing. And if you're not, it's time for a change.
The hardest thing, I think, is to take a job, go to college, get a degree, or maybe you don't go to college, but you've got a job and you're working, and you get good at what you're working in, but you don't like it. You just hate it. But
Yep.
because it's been, something you've had to do over and over and over again over the years, you've gotten good at it. And but it's not your passion. So I want to caution everybody that, if you get really good at something that's really not your passion, how fulfilling are you going to be in your life? How fulfilled? So that's something to really consider. And then we have those strengths that we were given and those that we develop. And what happens when you have strengths and weaknesses? Should people be focusing on developing their weaknesses, or should they be focusing on developing their strengths? Do you
I
have an
think,
opinion?
I think, I think that my answer is you have to work on both of them. You have to work on both of them. Because if you only focus on the strengths, then you tend to forget the struggles that you went through to get those strengths. And if you focus on the weaknesses, then you never see what the potential is for what you really can do. So for me, I think that they go hand in hand.
I do think we have to work on both. But my caution is, if you've ever been in a corporate world where they do performance reviews of you, and they give you a performance review and they say you need to grow in these areas, and then they don't tell you how, or they don't give you the training to do it, that becomes a problem, because usually our weak spots are blind spots that we don't really know what's going on in the first place.
Yep.
So making sure that you've got a coach or someone to speak into your life to help you find out what are those challenge areas, bring your performance review with you and say, hey, I need help. What does this mean? And what does this look like? And how do I get past it? And then thinking about what those are they strengths that you need to polish up? Because any strength taken too far becomes a weakness. Or is it a weak area that you need to bring up to speed? But my caution is, if you're a 3 in something and it's a weakness, and your employer has you working in your weak area, well, then you need to get a new job or ask them to move you into something that is your strength so that you can work in your strength. Because if you work on improving that area of weakness, you might become a 5, which is kind of mediocre at best. But if you can be moved into an area that is a skill of yours, you're going to have all kinds of energy and excitement and excited to go to work, and you develop that skill more, and you can become a 10, which is an expert, and really flourish. So that's where I say growth is important, and the inventory is important, so you know what your skills are, and then think about what job you're in, and is it suited for your skills best, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because one of the things that I've been doing with a group of people is I've been teaching on Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book.
Great book.
And there is a chapter called Organized Planning that we're in right now. And it has a section in there that lists 28 questions that you should ask yourself as part of your inventory. And I won't go through all 28, but I will give you the top 3 that really resonated with me and that I feel
pencils
that really need to work on. And one of them is, have I attained the goal which I established as my own objective for this year? So basically, whatever you decided to establish for yourself in January for the year, where are you on achieving that goal? Or has it just been left to the wayside? I can tell you that for me, I have a vision board, and I would say probably 90% of it I've not been able to achieve, because a lot of it has to do with what happened to the world, COVID. So I have to modify some of that. And then another question is, has the spirit of my conduct been harmonious and cooperative at all times? It's all about your attitude, right?
Yeah.
If you have a really bad attitude, then you're going to give that to other people. But if you have a really good attitude, then you're always going to, people are going to respond to you in that manner. So how is your
contagious? Yeah.
How is your conduct? That's really important. And then finally, has my relationship with my associates at work been pleasant or unpleasant? But here's the catch. If they've been unpleasant, did you look to see if maybe you played a role in why that was an unpleasant experience?
Absolutely. That's where that communication behavior analysis comes in real handy, because we get to learn about what our communication behavior styles are. We're all a little bit of everything: a direct, an influencer, a stable, and a compliant. So you can contact Mary or I if you want details on all of that, because I don't want to get into the weeds with that. But the point being is knowing your communication style, and then knowing how it shifts when you're under stress or when somebody annoys you, and learning how to identify what other people's personalities might be and how you can adjust your personality to engage those people at the core of who they are, really builds trust and interest in an environment of curiosity. And so that can really turn around your work relationships too, right? Yeah, it's powerful. It's really powerful, and that's what we're here for. We want to give you the gold and how to dig yourself out of the challenges that you had and into the future of designing your best life. And the best life always comes with great communication.
Yeah, and we've got 22 weeks left in this year.
22 weeks?
That's all that's left in 2020. 22 weeks.
Time for Christmas shopping, huh? Oh my goodness. I don't know where the time has gone. Actually, I do. We've been working hard. Even though we've been in COVID, we've been working hard, preparing and serving and doing what we can, right?
But this is the perfect time to start really thinking into what your values are and what do you want for yourself for the rest of the year. How do you want to end the year? It's one of those, sorry if you'll hear my grandchildren in the background. I just heard one of them.
That's great. We love it.
If you know what you want, where are you headed, start planning that for next year. Look at everything that you've done this year. What could you have improved? Like, what could you have improved? How many lives could you have touched, and how could you have touched them to make it better for them? That's what this is all about. This is why Candace May and I sat down and had a discussion back in March to discuss how could we give value to the people in our world, and thus Unshackle Your Voice with
Absolutely. Yeah. We're hoping we're bringing value to you and that it's really making a difference for you. And we're so glad when you're with us here and leave us comments, because I think no matter what we're talking about, strength-wise, communication-wise, everything runs on a spectrum, right? Our emotions, everything is on a spectrum. So I think for us, when we're taking that inventory of our lives, is to focus on where in that spectrum are we falling? If we're talking about being assertive or aggressive, those are at opposite ends. So we probably want to be somewhere in the middle. If we're talking about communication, are we really harsh or we're super mild and timid? Or are we somewhere in the middle, right? That we're really being powerful there. So there's no right or wrong in anything. I mean, I guess there is wrong if you're really at the toxic side, but where you're falling in that spectrum, it's just important to be aware. Yeah.
Well, and one of the other questions that I would ask is, how does one begin to value themselves, right? Because when we look at our self-worth and our self-esteem, it impacts all areas of our life. Like, it impacts every single area. So how do you value that?
Wow. Well, I believe there's a lot of people in the world who don't really value themselves. That's just a crisis that we're in. And many people are living in fear, and they're running around with negative self-talk going off in their head, and their old recordings that they heard a parent or a sibling or somebody in the community shouting at them as they were kids, and they just absorbed that and taken on those labels. If they've had some mental health issues or something, they're wearing the labels. We're more than labels. We're not the labels. We have value innately in who we are. And so a lot of people focus on what they have not done and what they cannot achieve, and I just can't do that. So having that positive attitude you were talking about a minute ago, saying I can do it, and sometimes we even have to borrow the belief of somebody else.
Yes.
That they believe in you, right? And this is where we got into that attitude where you could say, you're speaking life into somebody or are you speaking death into them? Are you telling them what they're not, or are you telling them what they are and what they can do, and speaking all that positivity in them? Because gosh, when somebody says you're farther along than you think you are, really? You believe that? You believe I can achieve in this? That just speaks life into you, does it not? You're like, oh, this is great, you know? And knowing you're not alone.
But look at what happens when you just tell somebody, I believe in you. The look on their face is like, wait, what? You believe in me? Like, why? Why do you believe it? The first time somebody told me that, I was like, okay, what do you want? Like, you're crazy. You don't know anything about me. But because they said I believe in you, it helps strengthen maybe they see something in me that I don't see.
Absolutely. We all have blind spots. Even successful people, a lot of people go, oh, well, they're a CEO, they have their own business, they have a PhD, they're a college professor, they're whatever they happen to be. They're the mayor, they're the this or that. No mayors. I'm not singling anybody out. I'm just throwing out some titles here that, people think they may be successful. Well, I'm commissioner of the city. I don't want anybody thinking I'm picking on anybody here. I'm not even thinking of my city. I'm just saying, president of the United States, whatever. Everyone has weaknesses. Everyone has character flaws. Everyone has room for growth, right? And so we think, oh, they're a supervisor, or they got it all together. But you know what? I bet you if you go through those 7 areas of their life, they don't have it all together, right?
No,
Yeah.
they don't.
So so your question was, how do you value yourself? I value, for me, I value myself just on the fact that I was made in the image of God. I know that may not offend others or not, but whatever you believe is great for you. But for me, I believe I was developed in the image of God, and I believe that gives me innate value right there. And I value myself because I've invested so much in my personal growth, so much in my communication style, so much in presenting and speaking and training and how to coach people and how to bring out the best in them. And those are passion areas for me. And business. They say business is a spiritual practice. One of my mentors says business is a spiritual practice, because when you have a business and you're in business, it brings up all your issues, right? Because you got to market yourself or your services or your products. And so it takes confidence and all of your insecurities of confronting clients or serving clients. And I mean, there's all kinds of shadows and insecurities that come up that you have to work through and realize everybody does in business and corporate, they all do. And that's why we have mentors and coaches and people who can really help you see those blind spots and take you to the next place. So, do you have something you want to share there?
No, you pretty much covered everything that I would have covered in something like that. So I agree with a lot of the things that you said. But I do want to know, how does one value their gifts and strengths?
Well, I think that goes the same. I mean, that's why I was saying gifts and strength. I think communication is a strength area for me. So I value it because it enables me to connect with other people. It enables me to express myself in ways that others can't. Let's go back to when I worked in an environment where there was a bully boss. I could see those interactions of how that supervisor was toxically treating the employees. And I could verbalize it when they couldn't put words around it. So for me, that was a gift. So I could be an advocate for other people so that I could help convey what do we need to do. And the great thing is we were able to get some 360-degree assessments done on the management team so that they could get feedback from all levels. And those are helpful. Those are very helpful, right?
Yeah, well, they say that where your focus goes, your energy flows. So you gotta work on it. We talked about opportunities earlier in the week, and we were trying to decide what exactly is an opportunity when you're trying to grow courageously. What is that opportunity? How do we know that opportunity is there for us to grab and value and really make it our own?
That's a really good question. I think the more aware you become of your environment, of yourself, of your strengths, your communication style, your thoughts, what thoughts are drifting through your head, when you develop the awareness to be able to capture those negative thoughts and reframe them into something positive, all of that then begins to open up what opportunities you see before you. And I know early in my 20s, I had a lot of opportunities in a lot of different areas in life and career directions I could go in. And I was like paranoid I was going to pick the wrong choice. Which one's the right choice? It was hard. I was like, why do I have so many choices? And I don't mean that in a bragging way, because people might be going, gosh, that must be nice. But sometimes it was a burden. And somebody who has no choices says, I can't imagine anybody saying that. But, you have to choose between what is good and what is best. Because if you're choosing good, you may just kind of mediocrely go by versus picking something that's really the best. And if you're afraid of success, then you might not want to pick that thing that's your best option. But you should be, right?
This is true. This is true. And that's kind of where when we look at personal development as a whole, a lot of us, when we're in a career field, right, we're focused on that professional development. Like, that's what's constantly hammered. What do you want to do for personal development? Or professional development. You need this, you need this, you need this. But we don't really focus on the personal development aspect of it. And so how do you develop that personal, how do you value that personal development? What's important to you about growing? And I know we got into a discussion about purposeful development, and you had your idea on what personal development was. I had my idea on what it was, and I kind of want to share that with the group. Do you mind?
No, I think that's great, because then I also wanted to share this concept of shadow work.
Oh, okay. So we talked about, Candace May asked me about purposeful development, and I I was a little snippy. I will admit I was a little snippy when she said it. But I was like, there's no such thing as purposeful development. You either want to grow or you don't. But in all of her wisdom, she showed me why purposeful growth was important. So I really want her to share that with y'all.
So what is it? What do we say?
You Oh, don't call me out like that. No, seriously.
Okay.
No, purposeful growth is it's like what areas are you purposely trying to grow, right? It's like being purposeful, being intentional, and just being focused. Like that's the way I took it when we had our conversation.
So what I think I was saying was, I talked a little bit about it already earlier in the show, and it was about if you're a 3 and you're working in an area that is not a strength of yours, you're never going to really be fulfilled. When you're forcing yourself to do a job that you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
your energy is drained, and how you connect with the rest of the team becomes lower. And when you have an area that you are gifted in, and you have ability in it, you naturally tend to want to do that and become happier.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really great when parents have the ability to figure out how their children are designed. We have a human design. We have, some of us have intuition that comes from our gut. When if we can tap into our energetic being, our physical and spiritual intelligence, we might make decisions based on our gut and how we feel in our gut. We can learn this. And then others of us, like me, I'm heart-centered. So for me, I have to connect into my heart, and I can really feel whether I'm making the right decision. My body and spirit tell me if I'm making the right decision. We're trained to use our mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
In school and in society, we're just told to use our logic. And that's really not the best way. The way we were designed by God is to use this physical and spiritual intelligence that we have. And then other people might be based on their emotional, system, that how they make judgments. I have one of my daughters is designed that way, where she uses a 2-step process to make her decisions. It's really fascinating and powerful to understand the human design that we have. And so that I think is one of the ways that we can really value our strengths and our gifts by finding out what those are, identifying the gifts that our children have, or our grandchildren, and really helping them to explore that and strengthen those areas. And then in personal growth, there's such a thing we call as shadow work in our Art of Feminine Presence work that we do. And this is basically, there's certain aspects of us that we accept and comfortably express. There are other aspects that we reject and suppress. We suppress certain parts of ourselves because at one time or another we received the message that they were not okay or they were bad. These aspects are referred to as our shadow aspects. They are not the parts of ourselves that we have not shone the light upon, aspects that we are not consciously aware of. And this is where it helps to have somebody working with you. And so that shadow work is really uncovering those things that hold us back. One way of doing that. This is really great.
That is awesome. Well, I know that people are wired differently. We're all wired differently, and it's because of our upbringings, our cultures, and our neurobiology. And I never really looked at it from the neurobiological perspective until I started working with you on this particular subject. So I think that it's good for us to know that the neurobiology trait is a measure of our emotional stability and our self-confidence. So if we don't have it very high up on the food chain of what we need to do, then it's not going to be very strong, and we're gonna be stuck. Those that have a higher rate of neuroticism, they tend to be easily upset and less comfortable with themselves. You see those people that they immediately, you tell them something, you say something, you've got something on your tooth right here, and they will immediately and and they get mad, they start crying sometimes, they react in such an abrasive and inappropriate manner.
Yeah, a knee-jerk reaction, right?
Yeah, where others will be like, "Oh my God, thank you." I've had people, "Oh yeah, okay, well yeah, lunch was pretty good. Let me pick it out right now."
Yeah, right. Thanks for telling me before I went out into public, everyone else to tell me, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So
it's
yeah.
funny how we have the ability to assign meaning to things, don't we? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we've already taken our time. So, Candace, what takeaway do we have for our audience?
Well, I think the takeaway is for you to sit down and do your inventory. What
Mhm.
are the gifts that you have? What are the strengths that you have? Do you understand your communication style? Are you
Mhm.
super outgoing, or are you more introverted? Are you driven to people and to helping people and the life of the party, or um, are you more task oriented, liking
Mhm.
to make lists, or do you like to do a lot of research? And all of these things play into who you are. Do you know if your learning style is audio? Do you learn by hearing? Do you learn better when you see things? Or are you hands-on and need to really use your body? These are some things. When you understand that, you can develop your best work environment. And especially right now, where people are starting to have to work from home, it's important to know what your styles are, because if you're distracted by noise, then you've got to find a way to create some quiet, headsets or something. Maybe other people need the noise to keep them focused and going. If movement is something for you, if that could be a distraction for you versus the noise. Just seeing things moving could be a distraction. So there's all kinds of wonderful ways to know what your strengths are. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's your homework. Figure out what your strengths are, and are you into accounting? Are you into um, uh, whatever it is, whatever your skill sets are? Right. Make a list. Make a list of what they are, and then
Okay.
figure out
I'm
where
not
they.
sure if something's happening with our Wi-Fi or something, but you're cutting in and out pretty badly.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
it was
you look pretty
really
steady
weird.
to me.
Yeah, you were frozen at one moment, so hopefully
Oh,
everybody got that.
okay. So our
So,
takeaway is do your inventory, figure out what you want, what your strengths are. Let Mary, Denise, or me know how we can help you if we can help you. And
and then as accountability partners, we ask, what are you going to do this week? How are you going to demonstrate this value? Like, what are you going to demonstrate for this week?
so I love growth. Personal growth is my favorite hobby. And so I have two accountability partners for different areas of my life. One is I meet at 5 a.m. on Monday mornings, and one I meet in the afternoons on Saturdays for different topics, different things. And so that's one way I hold myself accountable for growth, planning out my week and so forth. I, being a woman of faith, really spend time every morning in prayer. I'm actually part of a prayer team. We meet over Zoom phone calls and 7 a.m. Pacific time. If anybody wants to be in our prayer call, just drop me a note and we'll get you the number. And we pray through scripture. So we're pulling the scripture into the prayer time and God's promises there. I do spend time in meditation because that's important to me. I believe that's where I'm listening to God, and my mind is being, really transformed during that time. I have a gratitude journal, and I write down something, a minimum of three things, sometimes more, that I'm grateful for every day. And then I have a jar. I put it in. Every 7 days, I drop a note into the jar. So on New Year's Eve, I can pull it out and kind of go back through the year and see the highlights of each week. And I actually got this from Jen. She's a friend of mine on the team. And yeah, I thought it was a great idea. And then yeah, I do some reading, some personal growth books, and things like that. I try to move every day, walk. If not exercising, I was doing hot yoga at one time, but I'm not now. So that's a growth area for me to make sure I do it every day. I am starting to eat more plant foods. I still eat meat, but I'm trying to eat more and more plants and stuff. So those are things I do. And then I have, the Art of Feminine Presence, which are 44 practices for personal growth and all of that. So I'm using those in my daily life. Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Nice. Well, every Monday, I have prayer with two of my thinking partners, and then I always honor my 5 agreements, which are to add value to at least one person, to connect with God, not make excuses, read a desire statement for what I want for my goals, and I do one thing for my health every day. But
Outstanding.
one of the things that I love to do is I love to help my granddaughter with her reading. So I've been teaching her how to read.
That's
And
awesome.
that is the highlight of my day. Like every night, like she's waiting for me right now so we can come and play hangman, because that's what we do right before
Oh,
she
I
goes to
remember
bed.
Hangman.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, she's getting pretty good at it too. And then I always read one chapter out of a professional development book, because, in order for me to continue to grow, I have to continue to feed my mind, right? So
Right?
that's how I'm going to, you know, practice this skill so that I can strengthen it and make it stronger for myself.
Awesome. So I'll check in with you next week and see how you did. But before we go, I know we're running out of time here, but when you made a comment to me earlier about using, the 5 agreements, I was like, what? 5 agreements? So of course I had to go do my research. And according to Wikipedia, Miguel Angel Ruiz Macias, he was born in 1952. He's better known by his pseudo name as Don Miguel Ruiz. And he's a Mexican author of the Toltec, spiritualistic, and neo-shamanic texts. Ruiz is listed in one of the Watkins 100 most spiritually influential living people in 2018. He had originally came up with the 4 agreements, and then his son added a 5th one, not all that long ago. I think this was in 1997 that the 4 agreements came out,
Mhm.
and then the 5th one came out after that. So the official 5 agreements are to be impeccable with your word. So do what you say and mean what you say.
Mhm.
Don't take anything personally. This is where we get into assigning a meaning to things. Sometimes
Mhm.
we might say something and somebody takes immediate offense to it when they don't need to. They get to assign that meaning. So don't make assumptions. Don't, that means make an ass of you and me. So, you know, check those out. Always do your best and be skeptical, but learn to listen. So don't take it. That means our thoughts, right? Like,
Mhm.
don't be skeptical. But like when you say, "I can't do that," why can't you do that? Let's be
Mhm.
skeptical and ask, why can't you do that? And learn to listen to what that is, and that's uncovers those. So I thank
Mhm.
you, Mary Denise, for bringing up those 5 agreements, because that brought some awareness to me of something that's quite popular out there.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, we've gone way over our time, but we've enjoyed every moment of this. We want to thank you for joining us today, and we want you to know that we appreciate you very much. We would like to know what your biggest takeaway was. Did you have any aha moments in anything that we were talking about today? And as always, let us know what you would like for us to focus on, because again, this show is not about Candace, May, and myself. It is
It's
about
true.
you, our audience. And
Absolutely.
so we want to know what problem can we solve for you. So until next time, unshackle your voice to be seen and heard with confidence.
All right. Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. See y'all
Talk to you next
later.
week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.